Before we had all these slick, cloud-based dashboards at our fingertips, the world of corporate data was, well, it was kind of a mess. To really get a handle on modern business analytics, we've got to go back in time, back to when giant companies were practically drowning in their own information. This is a story of how a tech titan stepped in to bring some order to all that chaos.
And I'm not exaggerating here. I mean, it was genuine chaos. Just try to picture it. Massive corporations with critical info scattered across countless different systems, databases, and a sea of spreadsheets. Trying to get one single clear picture of the business, it was a nightmare. A monumental task that could take weeks of painstaking manual work. It was messy, super inefficient, and just plain slow.
So that's the billion-dollar question, right? As we rolled through the early 2000s, the demand for a better way just hit a boiling point. Executives needed answers, and they needed them yesterday. They were desperate for a single version of the truth, something presented in a way they could actually understand and act on.
What these companies were really crying out for was a unified platform, a single source of truth that could handle all their reports, their dashboards, and their business insights. They needed one tool that could connect to everything, make sense of all the noise, and deliver reliable answers.
And this is where Oracle, already a giant in the database world, made a really, really smart move. They looked at this huge problem and saw a massive opportunity. But instead of trying to build something from scratch, they decided to go out and acquire the best technology they could find to create their answer.
Their strategy was pretty straightforward. In 2005, they went out and bought Siebel Analytics, which was a real powerhouse in the analytics space at the time. They pretty quickly rebranded it as Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, or OBEIE for short, and by the late 2000s, it was cemented as their one and only flagship platform for business intelligence.
So, what was it that made OBIE so powerful? How did it actually manage to tame all that complex, chaotic data? Well, the answer lies in a really elegant piece of engineering right at its core.
The secret sauce was this thing called the semantic layer. The best way to think of it is like a universal translator for data. It would take all these complex, cryptic database table names, stuff like FCT, SLS, MOV1, and it would map them to simple business terms anyone could understand, like monthly sales revenue. All of a sudden, a marketing manager didn't need a PhD in computer science to ask questions of their data. This was a total game changer. And that powerful semantic layer was the engine that drove this whole suite of tools. It's what made the interactive web dashboards possible. It gave business users these ad hoc query tools so they could explore data without writing a single line of SQL. And of course, it integrated seamlessly with other big Oracle systems, which was a huge, huge selling point. You add an enterprise-grade security and the ability to scale to massive organizations, and you had the complete trusted package. But you know how it is in tech. Nothing ever stands still. So, over the next decade, OBIE couldn't just rest on its laurels. It had to evolve. The world of data was changing fast, and the platform absolutely had to change right along with it. You can actually see this evolution pretty clearly through its major versions. The first release, 10G, was all about nailing the fundamentals, just solid, robust, reliable dashboards and reports. Then came 11G, which was a massive redesign. It had much better looking charts and deeper integration across the board. And finally, 12C really brought it into the modern era, with access on mobile, even more advanced visuals, and most importantly, the first real steps toward being ready for the cloud. And that brings us to its legacy, because while OBIE absolutely dominated the on-premise world, this huge shift was already happening under the surface. The rise of cloud computing was about to change the entire landscape of business intelligence forever.
And the difference between then and now is just stark. You look back at the OBA era, and it was all defined by on-premise servers and big IT-managed reports that came from these massive software suites. Oracle was in a heavyweight fight with giants like SAP and Cognos. But today's world, it's a whole different ballgame. It's all about cloud platforms, self-service analytics for everyone, and this whole diverse ecosystem of specialized tools like Tableau and Power BI.
When you boil it all down, OBIE really was Oracle's dashboard era. It's such a critical chapter in the history of data, defining for an entire decade how the world's biggest companies saw themselves. It was the essential, absolutely necessary bridge that took us from the old world of static, IT-controlled reports to the modern, self-service cloud analytics that we all rely on today.